Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 718. It is May the 4th be with you, 2022. My name is Nick Henderson, and I can't speak. I am joined by Nolan Hedstrom.
Hey, yo, what up?
I feel like you need to, if you're going to start saying that, Nolan, you got to...
It's me, your boy, Skinny Penis.
Oh, okay. You went a little farther than I was hoping, but anyways,
you asked for that,
Nolan.
Nick.
I did. I asked for it, and Nolan delivered. That's what she said. Krispy, hello.
What's up? Hi, Nick. I'm sorry
hi.
I said you have brainworms. I don't think that, but also you don't have to put additional scenes at the end of your movie. Like, you don't have to.
Well, no, I was when you said that, I was in the middle of saying maybe it was a good thing that they didn't do a post-credit scene in the Batman. Because maybe these movies don't need post-credit scenes. But, like, I was just saying, I was pointing out that I felt robbed waiting through the credits for Spider-Man, only to get a trailer for Doctor Strange.
I will say, I can argue in the opposite direction, too, though. And I will say that it is nice that they do put scenes at the end of the credits, because now it, like, actually kind of forces people to sit through the credits, which... I mean, hey, good for the people that worked on the movie, right? Like, sure. It must really suck to go see a movie that you worked on, and then at the end of the movie, everyone gets up and leaves, and you're like the only one in the theater waiting for your name to go by and be like, hey, that's me. I was the best boy. You know, like...
Dude, I always used to look for Best Boy grip. Always.
Best boy!
Can you remind me what the Best Boy does?
The Best Boy is like the head of the grips.
Okay. Cool. See, I learned something. Also joined tonight by Chris Davis.
Hello.
Do you have something interesting to add to the conversation right now, Chris Davis? No
pressure. I don't have a grip on this conversation, no. So.
Oh, it's a grip joke. Very nice. Anyways, guys,
what are you drinking?
Yeah, what
is a UCC coffee?
What?
What the fuck is that?
With milk. Wait. What is UCC? What
is it? Just like
it's a popular brand of coffee, canned coffee from Japan.
Oh, from Japan. Okay, I was like, he says popular. I was like, I don't think so. I've never heard of it. And he said Japan. I was like, that explains.
Where did you get that?
I got it at H Mart.
H Mart.
Yeah, I went there over the weekend. H Mart's great. If y'all ever been to H Mart, H Mart's great.
H Mart is pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Very fun place to go. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. A little bit of housekeeping. First of all, if you're watching us live on twitch.tv/4playerpodcast, you may notice that it is in fact Wednesday, not Thursday. As I mentioned on the podcast last week, for the foreseeable future, probably the next 2 to 3 months, we'll be recording the podcast on Wednesday nights. So if you like to join us for the live recording, make note in your calendar, Wednesday nights until further notice. Funny thing is, that's because of Brad. It's a Brad thing, and Brad, for the very first show that we moved for in his honor, he is not here. So
he's here. He's just not participating.
He's in chat. He's at home with a sick family, so he is unable to be on the show. But I guess he's gonna watch from home. Maybe he'll chime in and chat. We'll see what's going on. But I also want to quickly mention that we started. If you are a Steam Deck owner, we started a Steam Deck channel in Discord. So if you want to talk about like tinkering and stuff. With fellow community members who also own Steam Decks. There is now a channel for that.
I would like to point out that you guys are just talking about games in there.
Well,
you just made a segregated like little game channel for people who have Steam Decks.
You know, you can't really control.
Brad's in there talking about Trek to Yomi. Like, come on.
No,
well, I do think because I think the initial question that brought up Trek to Yomi was, would it be playable on Steam Deck?
I
think
said
that's the reason
I
started.
started that by saying, "What is the over under on Trek to Yomi being compatible on the Steam Deck?" And then Brad just turned it into a rant about, is Trek to Yomi really just a visual gimmick, or is there more to it? And fuck that guy, right?
This guy hates playing games with his eyes. I fucking
He
swear
really
to God.
does.
He just hates pretty games.
Oh God. Anyways, I'm glad we could get that off our chest. I just wanted to mention it.
While he's not here to defend himself.
Yes.
Well, he's not here to defend himself. But we do have video games to talk about. We got some news to talk about tonight. We'll talk about that big SquareEnix deal that is going through, or in the process of going through, I think, which is a bit of a shakeup. And we got games to talk about. So unless anybody has anything they want to share before we jump into the video game portion of this conversation.
I saw a Free Guy.
Yes.
You saw Free Guy?
Came
Yeah, I
out a
finally saw
while
it.
back, but yeah.
I did too.
That's pretty good.
Let me rephrase my statement. What the shit?
I saw it too. It's
It's okay.
It's fine, I guess.
Is
Perfectly
it a
fine.
Ryan
It's got some
Reynolds
really good
movie?
jokes in it, though.
I don't regret watching it, but I don't think I'll ever get the itch to watch it again.
That's fair.
Popcorn schlock movie. Like, it's fine. It's not like I didn't hate it. I remember a few things from it. It's a solid okay movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things where you're like, oh, this is what some people think video games are.
Yeah, that was one thing when I was watching trailers. I was like, oh, that's what I kind of took from just watching the promotional stuff. I was like, this all seems really not video gamey to me, but okay, we'll see what happens. We've already talked way more about Free Guy than
we have.
Yeah, that's
I was expecting.
Slightly better media. I would
Okay.
like to officially. This is my official petition to rename Barry Hank, because NoHo Hank
NoHo Hank.
is such a fucking good character.
Ah.
He's so fucking good.
NoHo
This current season of Barry is fucking so good so far.
I
only
know.
watched-
I hear it. I hear it's good.
Have you not watched any of Barry, Nick?
I have watched like 3 episodes, and I'm not saying I did
dude,
not
it's
like
so
what I
good.
saw.
It's a
But
pretty nice show.
I
That's
was
on
distracted by
HBO,
something else
right?
at the time.
It's on HBO, yeah.
I have no
Okay.
excuse because I have HBO. I have literally no excuse. I should rectify that.
Mm-hmm.
I had an excuse because I
no
don't
one's
have
heard of
HBO.
it, it's oh my god, why can I not think of his name? David. What is his name? Why am I blanking?
Bill Hader?
Bill Hader. Thank you. I was like, David Hader? No, that's
I was like,
Solid Snake.
no, that's
Yeah,
Solid
Very
Snake.
different.
Bill Hader is an assassin, but he's trying to make it as an actor in LA, but he's also an assassin. It's fucking choice, and his acting coach is Gene Cusino, played by none other than the Fonz.
Henry Winkler?
it's-
Oh, gee.
Yes, Henry Winkler, and he is great in it too.
Oh,
But the whole like shtick there is he's a retired actor because he's not very good, but he's teaching acting classes. Dude, it's so good. And NoHo Hank, who I referenced earlier, is a Chechen. Like he runs doesn't run he works for a Chechen like drug cartel, and he's fantastic. He is such a good character.
Slade makes a good point, and this is something that's come up many times, especially when people talk to me about watching Barry. Is that it is very it has a lot of there are comparisons to be made to Dexter. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
So I would say, Nick,
so-
for your sake, don't go into Barry thinking it's Dexter. It is completely different medium. It is 100% a comedy. Dexter is a drama with some comedic elements. Barry is a comedy with some dramatic elements.
Yeah.
Very different.
And
I would
that's
say
pretty apparent too, like within the first episode, which I do remember
yeah.
pretty fondly. But when it does go like kind of Dexter, you know what I'm talking about? Like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good stuff.
yeah.
So
so surprisingly, Bill Hader's a pretty good actor.
yeah. And he's funny, so great.
For sure.
Crispy, you're the only one here who hasn't shared something yet that he's been watching. What do you
Oh, I already talked about watching The Night House
which was
before we started recording, which was really good. Which I enjoyed. I like that creepy supernatural horror kind of thing. What else? I finished watching Minx, the
Watching
HBO
what?
show. Minx. It's a
I don't know what that is.
HBO series about the creation of Minx magazine. It's really good. Jake Johnson
Cool.
and I
Okay,
don't
was trying to
remember
think
the
of
lady's name.
Yeah, I was trying to remember her name. I can't remember.
It's really good.
Apparently, there's a lot of stuff on
trailers and stuff
HBO.
Yeah, oh yeah,
A
dude, there's so much good
lot
things.
of dongs, a lot of boobies. Good stuff.
You had me at dongs.
And I don't know, something else. What was the last thing I saw in theater? Shit.
A long time for me.
Oh yeah, I've seen like that the Nick Cage movie and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Northman yet, but some good fucking movies out right now. Like,
Yeah.
those are great.
Maybe we'll have more to talk about. I think by next week, some of us will have seen Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I just bought my tickets.
Everything Everywhere All at Once was pretty good.
Oh man, that movie ruined me.
Yeah, I saw your message
It was like
in Discord
fucking,
about it.
fucking killed me. Oh,
It's
so good.
It's a good one, and I'm gonna be honest. The hot dog fingers thing freaks me the fuck out a little bit. But it's pretty good. Anyways, video games, which is what we are in fact here to talk about, which we do every week on twitch.tv/4Player podcast. We talk about what we've been playing. So who wants to go first tonight? Nobody.
I can if no one's going to volunteer.
Go.
Do it, Nolan.
Go.
Tell us about Peglin.
Yeah, I've been playing Peglin.
What is that?
So Peglin is a rogue-like Peggle game.
I was about to say, is there any relation to Peggle?
Okay.
Or are you just...
Very much. So it is 100% the core gameplay is Peggle. But instead of the objective to clear the board and have your big what is the name of that song?
Beethoven's Ninth.
Yeah, there you go. For clearing the board, the more pegs you hit, you have a stronger attack because as you can see on the top of the screen, you are fighting enemies. So the whole point is you are playing Peggle to try to attack enemies. In the OG Peggle game, you did have some power-ups and some abilities and stuff like that. This one is all about your orbs, or like the balls you're launching. The base one is just a stone. All it does is roll around and hit things. But you get upgraded ones that do... What's up, Chris Avis?
So this is basically Peggle meets 1 million. If you ever played 1 million before.
Yeah, basically.
I just want to point out that Krispy made a jab before we recorded tonight about us requiring footage. This is why footage is important. Because I would not have visualized this entirely based on the way...
It wasn't a jab, it was more of a poke.
Okay, fair enough. Anyways, sorry, Nolan, keep going.
But sure, so the roguelike element comes in which you have varying orbs and relics that you get throughout the game, and every time you restart a run, you start kind of fresh. And I say roguelite because as of now, at least, there's not like a whole lot of carryover. It's not like you're unlocking upgrades and stuff like that. It's more of just every run is unique, and you'll have RNG might be on your side, and you'll get a good combination of relics and orbs that work really well together and synergize, and then you can do well. Which is this footage actually ends up leading to me with my first win. I'd never won. Gotten to the final level and defeated the final boss until this particular run, which I finished right before we started recording. But that's because I just happened to get a good combination of, like I said, both relics and orbs. So like I said, the default orb just bounces around, hits pegs. Each peg by default can take 2 hits. The first hit you earn damage. The second one, it's just kind of like a dead peg, and you have to hit it again to clear it. You'll notice on the board there are some green pegs and some yellow pegs. Whenever you hit a yellow peg, now all of your damage, it's like a crit. So all the damage is increased. And if you hit a green peg, it refreshes all the pegs on the board, which is obviously important because you can see there's holes at the bottom. And if your ball falls through there, that's when you stop accruing damage for that particular attack, and it attacks. So there are relics that will increase the number of the refreshes on the board, or increase the number of crits, or maybe there are relics that will, when you hit a crit, it also refreshes the board, or a different one where if you hit a refresh, it's also a crit. So there's lots of different things that can affect how you interact with the Peggle board itself. And then, like I said, orbs, like the orb I just, if you're watching the footage, the one I launched, not in the first one of this level was a dagger. Daggers don't do a whole lot of damage unless you've hit a crit. So if you don't hit a crit, they basically do like a fourth. Don't quote me on this. Like let's just say like a fourth of the damage they're capable of. But if you hit a crit, it does a whole lot more. So it's important when you have a dagger to hit a crit. I don't know because this is early footage. So I don't have too many orbs yet because this is early in the run. But I know in this run I get a couple of different ones that are super helpful. I eventually the one I have now is one that it bounces. It's like a spirit orb. So when it is bouncing up, it will pass through pegs, which is very helpful because normally when you hit that peg, you go right back down in closer to the bottom of the screen, which is obviously not where you want to be. So when you have this one, when you bounce up, you'll pass through one on the way up, which means if you come back down, you're more likely to hit it and go back up again. And then as well, when it attacks, normally like a basic stone will just be basically like throwing a stone at the enemy. Versus this one, it creates like a spirit and it flies across the screen and will hit any enemy. It's very nice to do damage to multiple enemies because multiple times you're not just facing one, you're facing a slew of enemies that are slowly getting closer to you. And as soon as one is right in front of you, that's when they'll start attacking. Except for some have like ranged damage.
Did I just see a turn where your stone went straight down and missed all the pegs?
Yes, that can happen if either A, you do no damage, or B, it is a stone that doesn't do damage. Later on in the footage, I do get a stone that is a bomb-based stone. Yeah, I don't think I have that one yet. But how that one works is, yeah, it does 0 damage. No matter what you do, you will not damage enemies. But what it does is it creates bombs. So it'll turn a peg into a bomb. If you hit a bomb twice, before your attack happens, you will throw out a bomb that does 50 damage to all enemies on the screen. Very helpful for that AoE. That one, like I said, it doesn't do damage, but what it does is every 8th hit, it will create a bomb. So now adds more bombs. Because generally, when you start a level, there'll be a few bombs, but as soon as they're used, they don't get refreshed. They're just gone forever. One of the things that potentially helped me in this playthrough was I actually got a relic that makes bombs do less damage. So instead of 50, they do 35. But on refresh, they come back. So it's super helpful that there's now more bombs that I have access to. Secondly, that any orb is upgradable. So at certain points, when you finish a level, when you finish a battle, you'll have some options. And so often it is, oh, here's a new orb for you to take, or you maybe instead of taking a new orb, maybe you choose to take a heal. But then sometimes it is, oh, here, upgrade an orb. And you can choose any of your orbs. They all have 3 levels. So the first, second, and then the third, and they generally get better. So like a basic stone, as it upgrades, it just does more damage. That's it, nothing special. But in the case of like the bomb, I think the first upgrade, it makes the first hit you do turn into a bomb. So instead of the 8th, it's the first one will turn into it, which is obviously nice. And then I think the second upgrade to that one, it's every 6th and peg instead of 8. So you're more frequently turning pegs into bombs, which was super helpful because I also got a relic that makes pegs durable. So like I said, by default, pegs take 2 hits and then they're gone. Durable is like 5 hits or something like that, which is nice because then that means you're not destroying all the pegs in the world right away. Because like I said, in Peggle, that's normally what you want to do. You want to clear the board, but in this, you don't necessarily want to do that because if the board's clear, you're not doing damage to enemies.
As someone who's never played a second of Peggle, this looks addicting.
Peggle's great, man.
It's kind of hard to imagine Peggle without the as someone who hasn't played it, it's hard to imagine Peggle without kind of the RPG framing they got here, because it's like the RPG battle system they kind of got going on at the top. It's really neat. But are the relics that you're finding are the relics that you're finding kind of like where the randomness comes in, because each run you're going.
So that's what I was saying is every run, it's RNG. There's a selection of relics and it will randomly pull from them, and that's so you'll get a bunch of different ones. Some of them, there's actually one where kind of the roguelite element, is you'll have, if you saw that when I'm on the overworld map, at the end of each level, I can choose where I want to go next. And so you'll see at the bottom, if I have multiple options, sometimes I'll have one, sometimes I'll have 3 options. I have to shoot my orb into that hole to go in that direction on the map. Well, the problem is because sometimes there's pegs, you don't always get to go the way you want to go if your orb gets bounced somewhere else. But then you kind of get to choose. So on the map, you'll see that there's 4 choices: a question mark, which is it could be anything. There is a treasure chest, which you're guaranteed to get a relic. There is a boss fight, or sorry, not a boss fight, like a just enemy fight, and then there's like a superior enemy fight. Generally, superior enemy fights will give you better rewards for completing them, but then obviously it's a much more difficult battle than like a regular battle. And so that's kind of the whole thing. You're choosing early on, like, oh, do I want to maybe take this question mark because it could be a random event. Like one of the random events I got is you meet this guy and he's like, oh, flip a coin for -2 health and maybe you'll get a relic. And so early on,
this world map and kind of how you're describing like navigating it and getting random events is totally reminding me of Inscription.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
with obviously a Peggle twist on it.
Yeah.
So question regarding the map. As you're navigating the trees and the paths, sometimes the pathing changes color. Does that indicate like difficulty level or?
I think that has to do with with what enemy is there. So I mean, if it's just like a question mark, the path is just going to be plain because you don't have any knowledge. Versus if it's an enemy, you'll see that kind of like orangish reddish color because you're going towards a fight.
Okay.
Right.
To my knowledge, that's all it is as of now, at least.
Cool.
Yeah. So I was trying to remember the thing I was going to say. I don't remember. There's a lot of replayability. Like I said, just every time getting different stuff. Some of the boards I hate the layout of. They're just like not very good for trying to keep your.
They can't all be winners,
action.
Nolan.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. So the other thing I was going to say was, I meet this one guy and he's like, oh hey, flip a coin. 50% chance you'll get a relic, but you're 100% going to lose some health. And so finally I get it. And what that one does, I think it's like weighted chip. So it's like a poker chip almost. But instead of at the bottom of the screen, there just being 5 holes, it almost becomes like a slot machine, not slot machine, like like, I don't, not like kind of pinball, but each hole is worth a different amount. So when your orb falls into that, what's up, Krispy?
Is that pachinko?
Yeah, I guess kind of like pachinko.
Yeah.
That every time you're and they randomize, so every time you're about to launch an orb, it changes what it is, and so it can be 2x, which is very nice because obviously you do double damage. It can be 1x, which means you do just regular damage. It can be half damage, or it can be 0, and that is the most fucking frustrating thing because if you land in that 0, you just do no damage that turn, and it can be super frustrating. That you have, and it's only 1 out of the 5 is 0, but I feel like so many fucking times my orb went in that 0 slot when I had that weighted chip, and so on 2 different runs, I've taken the weighted chip, but now I'm never fucking taking that one again because I hate it so much. Just because it's similar to like you said, Chris, like pachinko. Once you drop it, you don't really have any control over where it goes. And so you can drop it on the right side of the screen and it slowly makes its way over to the left. And now I got 0 attack for
bitch.
this. Yeah.
Gonzo so says Plinko. Is that a different thing?
Yeah. I mean, like the Price is Right.
Plinko is from Price is Right.
Yeah.
Plinko's from Price is Right. So that's when you drop like
trademark.
The disc. Yeah. Plinko, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they probably have a trademark on that.
Oh yeah.
We'll bleep that out.
But no, they're not gonna care. It's just we can't. They can't call it this, But so the other thing is, as of right now, I think the game's technically still early access. There's 3 like worlds, and I think at the end of each one, there's a selection of bosses you can get. I don't know how many there are. I want to say, I think the final one only has 1 boss, but the other 2 have at least 2 bosses each. That you can choose from. So once again, a little bit roguelike element to it. Like the first one's either like this giant slime that slowly moves towards you. And once he gets to you, if you haven't defeated him, he like absorbs you into his body, and so he's doing damage, which also kind of affects how you attack on the map. And the other one is a mole who keeps digging back and forth, and there's like a giant tree in the middle that is just a big fucking HP suck. And so like you're just, if the mole's on the other side of it, you're just damaging that tree unless you have an orb that does targeted damage, which do exist. The second one is like this giant like wall with like a face, and as soon as he gets to you, he just instantly kills you, which sucks. But then the final one is like basically like a bunch of QR codes almost. Not quite, but that's what they kind of look like. But yeah, so I mean, I've had a lot of fun with it so far. Would recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Peggle. But even if you're not, I think you could still get some enjoyment out of it.
It was funny you waited till so late in the conversation to mention that it was an early access, because I was like, this looks like a really well-rounded, like fully fleshed out game already.
I'm not 100%. Let me double check just to make sure. I don't want to seem like I'm lying. I do have my Steam open. How do I get to the store page? I think so it is technically still early access. There is a demo though, so if you want to go download that demo, it'll let you play through the first map. And if you defeat the first map, then you just, hey, thanks for playing the demo. So I mean, it'll give you a pretty good idea. And I think that's what I did, was I played the demo and I definitely knew I liked it. And it is on sale right now as a part of like the RPG or the roguelike sale that's going on Steam. Yeah. So it's normally $20. It's only 10% off, so 18. But
I'm scared to look through that sale list, because I've just recently kind of started to like really enjoy roguelikes, and I don't want to get like sucked into like 10 different roguelikes at a time. But there's some good stuff on there. I think Rogue Legacy 2 is also part of that sale.
You are correct.
All right, Krispy. I think people are itching to hear you talk about Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt.
Vampire. La Vampire.
Yes. Real quick, there's a distinction to be made before we get into like the logistics of the game itself, but like, are there 2 Vampire the Masquerade games that are coming out that are other than Bloodlines 2, which is also in development hell or whatever the fuck's going on there?
Is
something else? Like,
I don't fucking know.
Somebody mentioned like something called Swans. I think it's called Swan Song. Is that a Vampire the Masquerade game?
I don't know what that is.
I think there's like a visual novel prequel thing. I think that's what that is.
Yeah, there was. So there was a sequel to Bloodlines, which does that exist anymore?
I have a feeling it was. They haven't officially canceled it, but I have a feeling that they've kind of gone back to the drawing board on that one a little bit. I think if we do ever see that game, it's going to be quite a bit different than what we saw, because apparently it wasn't coming together very well. But and this project is the one that they announced that people were like, "What?" But
yeah, I forgot that they announced this. I remember being kind of like, okay, when I first heard about it, and then just nothing for a long time, and now it's like, I think it's still technically early access or beta or something.
Everything's still technically in early access.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, this is just like, this is just the world we live in now, right?
Yes.
But it's pretty cool, actually.
That's what I hear.
So it is a battle royale. So there is like a map. The map is the city of Prague, okay, which is where all this takes place. Right. Basically, the reasoning behind it is that there's been some kind of like there's a religious order called the Entity, which hunts vampires. That's kind of like set up this political frame job on some vampires, and it basically caused all the clans to be like, fuck you, and have a big out and out gang war, right? Okay. So that's happening at night in the city of Prague. You play a vampire from one of the clans. Right now there are 4 of the Vampire the Masquerade clans in the game. There's the Bruja or the Bruja.
I think that's what I played. In the little Vampire the Masquerade that I played, I think that's the one that I went with.
Yeah, those are the like the beefy, like real strong vampires.
Yeah.
The Chads.
The Chads.
Nosferatu, which are the monster looking ones that like can't walk around outside because they look like fucking freaks. That's what Carlos is.
Is that what Carlos is playing as right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the Toreador, which are like the beautiful vampires. They're the ones that like are really good at like charming and glamoring people. And
The
then
sexy vampires.
yes, the sexy vampires. And then
The
there's
Twilight vampires.
the interview with the vampires. And then there's Ventru.
Okay. Gotcha. Wait a second. Wait, are we saying the interview with the vampire are like the sexy vampires, or is that have we moved on to the next one?
Have you not seen
Have
Interview
you,
with a Vampire?
have you seen that movie, Nick? I mean,
Yes,
yes.
there was just enough of a pause that I couldn't tell if we were switching to the next type, and he had just started associating them with movies.
No.
Sorry. What's the fourth one?
The fourth one is the Ventru, which are like, I don't know. I think they're like it's fucking dicks. Like I think they're just like the really aristocratic ones or something. I don't know what their deal is.
Was that not a
I'm trying
Ventru
to
shirt
think-
you're wearing right now, Krispy?
Venture, different. Ventec.
I'm trying to think of like the closest movie comparison for this one. Would it be like the Underworld vampires?
I think
the
those
ones that
vampires
have
would
the
be like the
mansions?
I think those would be the Bruja.
The
'Cause they were the
Chads,
ones that
okay.
were always just like going around fucking killing people. Like,
That's true.
and then like the Nosferatu would be like the movie Nosferatu.
Or like Peter from
Yeah,
What We Do in
which
the
I mean
Shadows.
he is Nosferatu.
Yeah.
For sure. Really old and horrifying vampire.
Mhm.
But so you can pick a character class from one of these 4 clans, right? And each clan has 2 classes, and the classes are kind of built around that clan's strengths, you know. So, for instance, Carlos in this footage is playing a Nosferatu. They're very sneaky, so like they have like invisibility that they can do. I think they can like turn into mist or something like that. The Toreador are really good at like healing. So that there's one that has like a self heal. There's one that does some kind of like buff for different players. The Bruja have just like they'll have like a really strong like melee attack or like just a really strong jump where they can just like fucking fly like the Hulk with a single leap. And then I don't know what the fuck the Ventru are. Like I don't know what their deal is. I haven't played them. They're something. I don't know. They just
So which one are you focused on? I know Carlos does the
I've been
Nosferatu.
playing the Toreador.
Okay.
Just because I wanted the self heal stuff, and because they're sexy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The basic premise of the game is like any other battle royale, where it's like a bunch of players are dropped into a game. I think this one has a relatively small cap, though. I think it's like 45 people.
Gotcha.
Something around that. I'm not sure. Don't quote me.
It does still allow the city to feel kind of like.
Well, it does because, and we'll get there, but like, what's really neat about this game is that it emphasizes verticality, right?
Yeah.
So you are on a city map, like think of any other like open world city game, like a Grand Theft Auto or something like that, right?
Right.
Because you're a vampire, you can just run up walls, and in fact, it's usually what you want to do. Like in my experience, you don't want to be caught down low because having high ground on somebody is usually really strong, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of like running up walls and like jumping across rooftops and things like that. And there's like no fall damage or anything, so you get that kind of like power fantasy of like being a vampire. The other like kind of unique twist about this game as far as a battle royale goes is that they also kind of emphasize, not super strictly, but they kind of emphasize keeping a low profile somewhat. Like the sort of like lore setup of the game kind of makes it clear that like the authorities in Prague know that like some kind of fucking gang war is going on. So there's all these like emergency services out, and there's like you'll hear like announcements that are like "Stay in your home," shit like that.
Vampires are fucking shooting
Right,
each other.
they don't say that it's vampires specifically, but there are like there's fucked up shit going on. Like stay inside, but there are just normal humans out walking around. Okay,
And you can drink their blood.
you can drink their blood, but also the normal humans, if they see you doing anything that quote unquote breaks the masquerade, like if they see you attack somebody, if they see you drink blood, if they see you just like firing a gun, they'll panic, freak out, and like run around and try to like alert somebody. If they get away, then you will have a blood hunt called on you. And that just means that you are illuminated on the map. Everyone who's playing the game can see you, and there will be. I think there's like special bonuses for killing someone who's being blood hunted.
That's kind of cool.
So
That
yeah,
is
so
really
like
neat. I like that.
so that's another reason why staying up on the rooftops is generally encouraged, because if you're down in the street level, some parts of the city do have like a lot of people just kind of hanging around. So it's difficult to, engage another player without a human seeing and then getting a bloodhound called on you, right?
Right.
Which is bad. Is a bad thing. You don't want that. But also interesting thing with like drinking blood. So yes, you can drink human blood to heal yourself, but there are different blood types. So there's different humans around the city. They all have different blood types, and the different blood types do different things. Not all of them heal you. Some of them like will give you melee buffs, or like will give you cooldown buffs for your abilities, things like that. So you actually have to kind of like use your vampire sense to like feel out what blood the different like humans around you have,
That's cool.
Other than that, pretty standard third-person battle royale. A lot of different weapons, a lot of cool stuff.
I did notice, because you are still like shooting people, but like I saw Carlos like shot a dude, and it looks like he went down. But to actually kill another vampire, do you have to like?
Yeah. So if you are downed, the person has to they have to finish you quickly, because as soon as you go down, it starts a timer. If you stay down for like 30 seconds or something, you automatically get back up.
Yeah.
So it's not
vampire,
like
you're healing.
Right. It's not like most battle royale games where a teammate or somebody has to like help you out, or if you're playing solo, there is no down state, you just die. In this game, you have a chance of coming back from being downed, and in fact, a lot of times, like someone will someone will engage you from a distance that they like probably shouldn't have. They'll down you, and if you can hide, somebody else will come along and kill that person before they have a chance to finish you off, and then you're up in the game again, and you can run away or engage or whatever.
Yeah,
Probably.
and it looked like finishing him off involved like going up to him, lifting him off the ground, and breaking his neck.
Yeah, they have it. It's called that has a specific name. I don't remember what it's called, but there is like a specific takedown that will that will finish somebody off. And right there in the footage, you just saw Carlos drink someone's blood.
And I'm gonna be honest, that was creepy.
Yeah, it's really creepy. The thing about the Nosferatu is I don't know. I haven't played one. Do they? Maybe somebody else in chat, like Gamerbeck, knows. Do Nosferatu just like trigger people just if they see you? Because that would be fucking cool. But it would also mean that playing Nosferatu would be more difficult than anybody else.
Yeah.
Because if a human just saw one, they'd be like, "Oh shit." Oh yeah, the takedown. The takedown is called Diablerize. I don't know why, but
Interesting.
that's what it's called. I think you get extra points for doing that.
This looks fucking rad.
So-
like,
You also get you also get extra lives too in this game. So if you get killed, you can respawn at least once, I think, and you might be able to earn extra respawns. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I haven't played a whole lot, and it's different enough from all the other battle royales that I've played that I'm still kind of like wrapping my head around it. But I mean, look at this. You get to be a vampire running around on rooftops with dual crossbows, just like fucking murdering people and drinking blood. That is pretty sick.
oh yeah, this looks really cool, and surprisingly,
Oh, see, look, that lady got scared. She's running, and if she gets away, it'll be a blood hunt. But Carlos got her.
nice. What I really wasn't expecting watching this footage is that like this, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 was kind of on my radar, mostly just because, I think vampires are pretty cool. But you know, this has a much more what's the focused aesthetic and unique look to it, and just has more personality, I think, than I was truly expecting, especially out of like a multiplayer spin-off.
It didn't have like the
game.
best announcement for it.
No, it certainly seemed like, maybe, I don't want to say the word, I don't want to say like cheap cash in, but it certainly seemed like a strange project, especially for an IP like Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
But this has kind of maybe reinvigorated my interest, and I really hope that I want to try this first of all. Is it like a free beta right now, or do you have to?
Oh, it's free to play. It's free to play.
Free to play. Okay.
It's only on PC and PS5 though, and as Carlos and I found out, you can't crossplay between the two.
Okay.
I mean, you can't. I don't know. It's weird. You can't friends list between the two, or I don't know how it works actually, because I was playing on PC and I could not friend him and he could not friend me, so we couldn't actually just like load into a game together. But PC players are forced into crossplay, so like you are playing with people who are playing on PS5. But I think if you're playing on PS5, you have the option of turning off crossplay. It's really weird and convoluted. It took us like half an hour to figure it out, and then we couldn't play together anyway. So it sucked.
Am I understanding the map correctly in that, so Prague is just one giant map, but each of these matches take place in a segmented part of the map, right?
I think what you're seeing is the ring of the Battle Royale. Like, it starts as the map, and then different segments will be taken over by the red gas or whatever it is that acts as the ring in this game.
Okay. I do like how the gas is not this just flat circle. It's actually different shapes and sizes going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like specific neighborhoods will get sectioned out as being gassed.
Okay, that's what I was getting.
You can kind of get like stuck in these little corridors where there's just like gas all around you, and you have to like go straight, Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'd like to play more. I didn't get a chance to play as much of it as I'd like to, but it is pretty cool if you're into that sort of thing.
Well, I'm gonna try it, and I hope this maybe is, because this seems to be getting some, it's getting some attention. People are talking about it slowly. It's picking up steam, I think. I hope this does good things, especially for maybe Vampire the Masquerade, as maybe it reinvigorates interest in just kind of the IP in general. Maybe that other project will kind of it will breathe life back into that other project, so to speak. I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna give this a shot. It'll be my first Battle Royale game, but it looks cool. I don't like vampires.
Wait, your first? That doesn't seem possible.
It'll be my first.
Okay.
And the price is right, so why not?
Oh, they're a Swedish developer. Okay. Found in 2017.
Owned by Tencent.
Owned by Tencent.
I mean,
100% share.
Quarter of the industry at this point is owned by Tencent. So, anyway.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, I have a little game I want to talk about real quick. This is a game that was recommended to me by Chai Tai. Chai Tai has a long history of recommending small indie horror games to me, and I haven't been the most I haven't been the best friend in terms of trying some of these games that he's recommended, but the Steam Deck has really made this a more viable option for me. So I've been playing Remorse: The List, which is I want to say it's a Hungarian indie studio, and they put this out. And I what drew me to this, and what Chai recommended, or why Chai recommended it to me, is that it kind of wears its Silent Hill influences on its sleeve. This feels very much like a kind of open-ended, exploration-driven survival horror game. But and it feels very much like the survival horror games of the maybe the PS1 era, so that's why I'm referencing Silent Hill, PS1, PS2, Silent Hill especially. But like, it controls and plays kind of similarly to like the more recent Resident Evil games. So it's first person, and I'm quickly discovering that like I love the combination uh of the classic survival horror, limited resources, open-ended exploration, not really obtuse puzzles and stuff, but combined with controlling it first person with first person shooting and stuff, because the combat here feels pretty good, especially considering it's an indie horror game.
That is a meticulous reload animation there, and yet you're being fucking attacked. You should be just fucking panicking.
I was panicking. That was me panicking. I mean, me panicking, but like obviously the animation doesn't know that I'm panicking, so it's just doing the the animation, the regular reload animation. But yes, and to Brad's point, Brad has popped into chat to ask me if there's really been an indie horror game that wasn't inspired by Silent Hill, and the answer to that question is probably no. But I'm specifically saying Silent Hill 1 in this case because the game is kind of the sprawling map. There's even streets and street signs. The one gripe I kind of have about it so far is that, and this is more of maybe a lost in translation thing. It takes place in a Hungarian town, and the map, I don't like. Obviously, it's been translated, but the map hasn't really been translated. And every time I open the map, I have no clue where I am on the map, and I don't really know how to read it. Because everything just feels it's just different, I guess, than what I'm used to when it comes to reading maps. So at any given time, I don't know where the fuck I am. But it just kind of adds to this sense of like kind of exploring this place that feels like a bit of a maze. And kind of at the beginning of the game, you wander into the streets of this town, and there's this like display in the middle of the street. It's like this banner that's hung up, and there's 3 things it wants you to find, and that is the list, right? So it just tells you without much context, you need to find these 3 like memories or something, but they're scattered around town, and it's tied to something in your past, something I think related to someone who you were in a relationship with that may have died, or I'm not entirely sure. So you can already see a little bit of the Silent Hill inspiration there. And as you explore this town, I think the way it's organized is you kind of explore the town. It branches off into a bunch of different directions, and there's like major landmarks. And when you go inside, like the first one I did was a hospital. Again, very Silent Hill. You go into the hospital and you explore it. You solve all these weird, crazy puzzles. You fight a boss. You find the memory. You go back and you put that memory on the pedestal in the center of town. And that's what you're trying to collect these 3 things, and the story will kind of come together and make sense, I guess. But gameplay wise, it's really solid. It runs really well on both PC and Steam Deck, which is cool. And so I've been bouncing back and forth on it. But like, if you're a fan of just like really traditional, like I feel like they don't make survival horror games kind of the way they used to. I mean, I love horror games these days, but like this feels like a really nice blend between old and new. A lot of the newer, more modern stuff has a lot to do with like how it feels to control, because like you're holding a button to sprint and like you're aiming down the sights and stuff, so you're not dealing with this clunky like third person like aim your character in the right direction on a pivot on a weird axis or whatever, and then try and hit enemies with a melee weapon. It all feels very like first person Resident Evil, which is cool. But you're going through, you're solving all these like really weird, obtuse, crazy puzzles, which I know Brad loves to harp on, like the weird, obtuse puzzles in Silent Hill. I've always loved that shit. So you're finding like these weird Rubik's cubes with things painted on them, and you have to turn it in such a way, and that gives you that for whatever reason gives you a code to unlock an electronic door panel on the other side of town. And it's just about keeping a mental note of where everything is in town and making those connections. And when those connections are made, it's kind of like that's when that synapse fires, and you're just like, oh, I know where to use this. Like, there's nothing better. And I just feel like they don't make games like that much anymore. So this is very, very much like a throwback to that shit, and I love it. And I think it's probably like a 4 or 5 hour experience. I feel like I'm about like halfway through it. But it it seems very comparable in length to like a classic Resident Evil game. But yeah, that's it's called Remorse: The List. It came out like last week, and Chai Tai swooped it up and was like, Nick would like this, and recommended it. And he's right. I do. I like it a lot.
Cool.
Also, I forgot to mention enemies in this game are really diverse and weird. And most of the time, you hear them before you see them, which is really unsettling. Like they scream really, and they like these really like horrifying noises, and then just literally charge at you. Sometimes they're like people without arms and legs, and they're like sliding across the ground like snakes and stuff, but they're screaming while they're doing it, and they're coming at you really fast, which makes
Did you just
conserving
pick up a
ammo.
Game Boy Advanced Micro?
Yeah, there's like little
Yeah.
like the collectible in the game is like finding retro video game consoles and stuff. Like they have the Nintendo, like looks like an actual Nintendo thing with non-Tendo. So they're all off-brand stuff, but yeah, they're scattered around. They're just fun little
So-
collectibles.
Kind of going back to what you were saying,
Mhm.
is I think a lot of the time with horror, and this is not exactly a revolutionary thought, but the fear of the unknown is the real scary thing. And when you're not
Right.
seeing it, when you're either just assuming it's there or hearing it, like I recently finished Midnight Mass,
Ooh.
and for those who haven't, I don't want to spoil anything, but
So
there's
good.
definitely a turning point in that show when it becomes a lot less scary, when you all of a sudden just start seeing things.
Yes.
It's the whole like lead up, when it's the suspense, when it's you see something in a shadow, maybe not even like something it particularly calls out, it's just there.
Right.
That's when it's kind of like scary and creepy and eerie. But then all of a sudden, when things are just in the light, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
it's much less
and
scary.
I do think I think this game does lean really heavily on atmosphere, because it has this really ambient music, and it's dark as hell, and one of the more modern things that it borrows from other games is like flashlight batteries. So like it's very limited, so a lot of the times you're constantly having to remember to like only use your flashlight when you absolutely need to. And right now I'm actually wandering around with no batteries, so like I can't see shit. So and it plays with that. It plays with your like the story is kind of so obtuse that it's kind of hard to feel one way or the other about it, as far as like being scary. It's really just kind of unsettling and creepy, and I like that stuff. But like as far as being scared, like it does a lot with sound design. So when you can't see and then you hear something making this like unhuman yelling noise, and it's charging at you from some unknown direction, and you only have like 10 bullets, it's it can be really tense. And I think that's the best way to do it. Also, if you're watching the footage now, it's just like some of the enemies and like weird shit that you see throughout the world reminds me of The Suffering. Like I just walked into the back room of this like department store, and there was like these 3 human arms that were like stitched together with like what looked like nails driven through. It's hard to describe. It reminded me very much of like the fucked up enemies in The Suffering, if y'all ever played that game. But yeah, I do think this game relies more on tension and just pure atmosphere than anything. It's unsettling, but it's also the kind of game that I don't really have much trouble just picking up and playing. There are other horror games that I have historically been like, I love this game and I want to play it, but I'm terrified at the thought of even picking up the controller and going. And that's not what this is. But I don't know. I'm digging it so far. If you like classic survival horror, if you like Silent Hill, if you like more modern Resident Evil games, this kind of has a little bit of all of that mashed together. And I think it's like I want to say it's like $17 or $18 on Steam, so the price is right. So yeah, I do recommend it. I'm gonna try and finish this.
You know what's even cheaper on Steam right now?
What
Hollow Knight, $6.
is that part of this
Like,
that sale?
Yeah, that's the part of the rogue. What do they call it?
Roguelite
Rogue something. They call it going
which is
rogue.
really which is just a weird, fun way of celebrating the release of Rogue Legacy. I feel like, but
I think that's part of it. But just BT Dubs, if anyone's never played Hollow Knight, one of the best games of all time, $6.
I do 100% agree with that statement.
If you're not sure, you can look at the fact that it has almost 200,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. Pretty good game.
Maybe one day it'll get a sequel or something.
Oh my god.
This fucking guy.
He's not wrong though. All right, one more game to talk about before we cut to break. Chris Davis, you too have a game. I do believe we've talked about this in the show before, but I knew it was just a matter of time before you got your hands on it.
Yeah, I played a demo of this last October as part of the Steam, one of the Steam Next events. You know, a bunch of demos coming out, people can try out. This is Kaiju Wars. First off, I want to draw your attention to this main menu because I think this is one of the coolest menus I've seen in a very long time.
Holy shit.
Most of it's interactive. You got little figurines that'll shoot lasers and tanks and stuff. The turtle will fucking take off like fucking Gamera, and you touch the soldiers and they'll go flying. You hear a Wilhelm scream, and then in the background, they're like TVs that are showing actual giant monster films. You know, films that are actually in the public domain. That if you click on one of those screens, it pulls up the film. And you can click a button to watch the movie in its entirety. That's fucking cool.
You can watch the whole movie?
The entire movie, because they're in the public domain. So you got a number of Gamera movies. You got like Pulgasari. You've got like Ape in here. Like real, just like some obscure shit, but also some really interesting films. Anyway.
I had no idea they went this hard on the
They absolutely went.
That's pretty cool.
The developers here, so the last game they put out was a game called Radio General. And it was a Steam game. You might have heard of it. The idea was that you were just a World War II general in a tent looking at a map, and all you have is the map. You have no other information other than what comes in over the radio, and you're issuing orders to fight the Nazis. And it got really good reviews. Well, these developers are my folk. They're my kin. Because they built this entire game as
For you.
No, well, hang on. They built this entire game as a tribute to a Godzilla game from the NES from like 1989. That I own 3 copies of, by the way, just because it's one of those things that you just don't see. This is a turn-based tactics game in which you play as the army fighting, invading kaiju on a map. You play as the mayor of a megacity, and the act structure of the game is that each time you go to the next act, you have been voted out in a special election, and then subsequently elected in another megacity for your superb kaiju fighting abilities and your strategies. It's all very tongue-in-cheek humor. There's a lot of puns and tributes to classic kaiju films that are really fun.
These cutscenes are cool looking too.
Yeah, no, the animation in this game is really fun and great. Really makes you think of classic, 8-bit and 16-bit era animations going on. Yeah, it is a turn-based tactics game. The whole loop of every single map is basically the same. You have your doctor, Dr. Wagner, who is the kaijuologist, who every single time a mission begins has to redevelop her anti-kaiju serum. And you develop that over time by building up science. This game has an economy. And for you're building science. So you have a lab somewhere on the map, and you have to protect the lab. You can defeat the kaiju, and you'll defeat the kaiju very often, but they just go away for a few turns, and then they come back. And when they come back, they've got increased health, and often they have brand new abilities to them. And with that increased health, they've got tiered health bars. So the more health bars they have, the more moves they can make in a turn. So the whole round experience of a battle in Kaiju Wars is that you're taking turns, moving your units, and strategically placing them, not necessarily to attack, but anticipate where the Kaiju are going to go, and then figure out whether you want to do a counterattack or if you want to do a direct attack. This game also has a card system for both the player and the opponent. Every turn you get to play a card. Every turn they get to play a card. And for the opponent, it's things like dropping your security level or causing a crisis somewhere on the map. If a crisis pops up on a building, you don't have to deal with it technically. But a crisis, if a kaiju walks over a crisis, they regain 2 health. And any tile that has an economy function or a gameplay function like a base or a factory or something that gives you cash or science, if a crisis goes in that, it disables that, so you don't get that income every turn. You can sacrifice a unit to quell a crisis. That's a whole mechanic as part of like respawning, because all of your units die in 1 hit, no matter what. There are a few like experimental special weapons that have benefits to where they can take 2 hits, and they transform into something else, like the gun cross wing, which is half like is its first phase. It's basically a Valkyrie from Macross, and when it takes damage, it doesn't die. It transforms into a robot a la Gundam, and it's fucking great. It gets different stats too when you do that transformation. But every time you can always spend currency to earn back a unit. The good thing about the balance of the game is that a unit on its first spawn is $3 basically. But on its respawn, it only costs $1. And you can earn cards in the game and build out your deck to where it costs less or even is free. So you can build a whole decks of strategy about how to build up your science quickly or get a lot of gold quickly or play cards that damage kaiju very fast. But the whole loop circles around science. So you have to build up your science meter, which are these stars in the lower right-hand corner. Every 10 beakers, it goes up 1 science, or goes through 1 breakthrough, and you get a star. Also, when you defeat a kaiju and they retreat, you get a breakthrough. And again, you can build your card deck to where you can multiply those breakthroughs and get special bonuses based off other cards. It's really fun.
So is the goal for each map or each I guess game to like wipe out all the kaiju on the map? Like is that the winning scenario in each?
No, in every scenario you cannot kill a kaiju. You can make them retreat. You can hurt them enough to where they retreat off the map, but you can never kill them. They just despawn off the map and they go into the layer to regenerate.
How do you get them to join your team?
Well, I've played 4 of the 5 acts in this game, and so far that doesn't happen. It's always about you and the military trying to fight off the monsters.
When do you build a mecha kaiju?
Why am I struggling to remember the name of the game that is very clearly like... I'm trying to think of the best way to like describe this people visually to people who are listening, and obviously it reminds me a lot of...
Like Advance Wars or
Into the Breach?
No, I mean, Into the Breach. Yes,
Into the Breach.
It reminds me of Into the Breach a lot. But as someone who hasn't played a ton of Into the Breach, I don't know how similar.
As someone who
these games
hated Into the Breach,
I didn't hate Into the Breach. I think Into the Breach is a game that is impossible to hate. It just was not for me. Is that fair?
I mean, that's fair. Into the Breach is very much a puzzle game when it comes down to it. This is very much like tactics. You have ideas of where the kaiju are going to go when you get percentage calculations as to where they will go. Doesn't mean that's a guarantee every single time. They will often take paths that completely fuck up your strategy for placing your units. So there can be. So let me explain. The whole loop of a kaiju is that they're 100% targeting buildings and bases and structures on the map. They never specifically go after your units. Your units are just like, fodder on the map. They don't care about that.
Right.
They will only really attack those units, A, if they get in the way of where they're going, or B, if they have an ability to where they can do a direct attack to get them out of the way. So, for example, the Petrus Ignis, who is the not Mothra or Rodan hybrid thing in this game, is a flying fire moth, basically.
That sounds like, I don't know a lot about kaiju, but that sounds like Mothra, right?
Yeah. So, and flying moths, but yeah. So two of her abilities, one of them, I'm about to proc in just a second. She has an ability to where if a flying unit ends its turn right next to one of her movement directions, left, right, back, forth, she will do a wind blast that will instantly destroy that unit. But then she has another ability that's called the Phoenix Egg, and so when she dies, she doesn't die. She gets curled into an egg, and she will destroy any unit or building that is in one space proximity to her. So as soon as I defeat her, she goes into the egg form, and then I immediately have to retreat because she will destroy anything that's there. And as part of the strategy, as you're watching in this footage, she's about to go into that situation, but she's right next to my primary lab where Dr. Wagner is. So because she's about to explode and take out everything within sight, I have to evacuate the area and move her to a different space in the map.
Gotcha.
And when Dr. Wagner is outside of the lab or outside of a lab, the economy is suspended. So you don't get any gold income, you don't get any science income. So you're stuck with what you got until you get her back into a lab. If all the labs on the map are destroyed, you do get a free lab card you can play anywhere. There's a foundation spot to build something on that next turn. So there is never a scenario to where you are trapped and there's nothing you can do about it. The other balance of the kaiju is that there is a security rating on the map. It's demarked by the padlocks in the lower right left-hand corner. The idea is that as kaiju destroy security buildings like bases, like security towers, things like that, it lowers the security rating. And also cards are played by the AI that lower the security rating by 1, 2, or 3 over time. Eventually, most maps, that number is going to run out. And when that number runs out, there's a breach, a security breach. In that security breach, the kaiju now know where Dr. Wagner are, and they will make a beeline, ignoring everything else on the map to try and kill her. When the security breach happens, you normally have to evacuate unless you have a lot of space and you can calculate turns and the direction of the kaiju is where they're going to go.
Right.
So the way kaiju move is that when they're going along, they have like 2 or 3 ticks or whatever, those green markers telling you how many spaces they can go. Normally, when there's not a breach scenario, they can only move those spaces, and when they hit a building, it wipes out all of their movement for the turn. But when there's a breach, that no longer counts.
You're going into some crazy detail here.
I'm sorry, I am, but I'm really passionate about this game. I'll kind of start wrapping it up. But yeah, that when the breach happens, they make a beeline for you, and there are scenarios in this game to where they will build up their health between retreats so much and gain so much abilities that they can get like 7 or 8 spaces in a move, and you start fucking panicking as to when you can, whether you need to evacuate preemptively or if you just want to kind of press your luck and wait your turn. Right. This game's a lot of fun, man. It
looks really. The one thing I can't quite decide about this game is that I'm somewhere in between really loving the visual flair of this game and being completely overwhelmed by it. Like I
can understand that. The demo had in the demo and the footage I showed back in October was not a good way to represent the game because there was a bunch of crises happening around the map, and the animations they used for flames were like really high up, so you kind of had to pay attention to what you were looking at. You couldn't see it off.
It's just got so many competing elements on the screen at any given time, but like all of those competing elements are visually interesting, and it has a lot of personality. It is
what
busy.
You're looking for.
It is definitely busy, but like all of those elements that come together to make it busy, I like. Like it has lots and lots of visual flair that I'm totally into.
To be fair, the visual design, it does change between acts. Everything gets a recoloring, and you also the color of your units also change based on the act you're in. And color also plays into things. One more mechanic, and I'll shut up. Your units, you have base units, and then you have ace versions of units. They cost the same, but you only get one version of ace units at any given time. So you'll always have an ace tank, ace infantry, ace AA, whatever. The thing about the aces is that there is a progression system based on medals that you earn in the game. And you can spend those medals to upgrade each of your stats by 1. So the strategy becomes you want to upgrade your ace units and always deploy those first versus deploying your base units. It's really cool, man. There's just such a nice balance of abilities between your units. All the cards, you can build a really interesting deck. The writing in this game is fun. The scenarios that they throw at you are quite varied and really can throw you for a loop.
Let's not forget Kaiju.
And there's fucking Kaiju. There are 2 in this map here, but there's 2 more in the game, and I think there might be one more towards the end.
Is this game actually is this out, or is this still like an early access?
It is 100% out.
Okay. Is this a 2022 game?
It is a 2022 game, and it's out on everything.
Calling it now.
All the consoles, it's on fucking Mac, it's on Steam, Steam Deck, Epic. I mean, you can't avoid this game. It is there, and you have no excuse.
This is definitely a game. I don't think you could play this on Steam. I mean, I'm sure you technically could play it on Steam Deck, but the whole busy thing again on a screen that small, and also it seems like maybe a game that is just controlled better with maybe a mouse and keyboard. I don't know. It certainly looks cool though.
It's good that the controls. It's WASD camera controls. So you have a good control of the map.
Which, again, not great for the Steam Deck. Unless I want to hook up a mouse and keyboard. I'm saying it first. Chris Davis Game of the Year 2022, Kaiju Wars. Hot dog bet. Hot dog bet. All right.
Okay. All right. I think it's really fun. I think if you like tactics games, you should really check it out. And it's a love letter to people like me. So.
That it is. Certainly is. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, got a little bit of news, got a few questions to answer, and then we'll wrap up at the 4-player minute. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Y'all just missed the most riveting conversation about lawnmowers that I've ever heard. We talked about lawnmowers for a long time, but we're back.
It is the season for it, with the warm weather and these April showers. Grass is getting long out there.
Yeah. Have you ever driven past a neighbor's house and been like, God, I want to mow the shit out of their yard?
Yes. Yes, I had. I
didn't expect Chris Davis to be the one that said yes.
Oh no, we had a neighbor at the end of the block when I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Oh wow, he's going way back.
Oh, it was like a It was just infested with weeds. You couldn't even see the front of the damn house. It was bad.
Yeah, I want to like drive a riding lawnmower through some people's yards, and it would be so satisfying. Like you wouldn't even have to pay me. I would love to do it, but I'll never get my chance.
Can you imagine if like, nuclear war happened and the world ended tomorrow? The asshole who survives and like mowed their lawn today is gonna be like, well, great. I guess I did that for fucking nothing.
So me?
Yeah. Yeah. How are you gonna feel about that lawn tomorrow?
I'm pretty sure I finished mowing my lawn at like 7:01 today.
Damn.
The bombs could drop any day now.
Hey, but you know what? They would drop on a fucking pristine looking lawn.
This just got dark.
Yeah.
Okay. Fucking news, guys. There's some big news. Let's talk about video games. SquareEnix, baby.
Oh God.
Is selling their Western IP along with several major studios to Embracer Group, which honestly sounds to me a lot like Tencent. I don't know a ton about Embracer Group, but I know Tencent is buying up everyone under the sun, and it seems like Embracer Group is doing the same thing.
THQ Nordic became Embracer Group.
Oh, that's formerly THQ Nordic?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to trust you on this, Chris Davis.
They own a lot at this point. They own...
Yes, no, absolutely.
Saber Interactive. They own Koch Media. They own Gearbox.
Wow. Yeah, damn, they own a lot of shit, especially after the SquareEnix deal goes through. So SquareEnix has finally decided to cut the cord with the big SquareEnix experiment that started however many years ago, where they were, they had all these Western studios that were suddenly working on big Western IPs that Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief being three major ones that are all being sold as part of this deal, along with Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and what's the Thief studio? Oh, SquareEnix Montreal.
SquareEnix?
Yes.
How does that work? If you sell a studio called SquareEnix Montreal to somebody else, I guess they're just going to rename it.
Yeah, just rename it.
But yeah, so
you're not mentioning the other big thing about it, though.
Oh, great.
The fact that they only sold 50 IP, major names in the market, and hundreds, thousands of people of incredible talent for $300 million. That is just absurdly low for the amount of talent and how much value they would be getting.
It seems like they were really...
Well, I think the other kind of big whoopsie there is that didn't they say they were making this sale to raise funds to start up like their like NFT division and all that other shit they were talking about?
Yeah.
Their blockchain AI cloud NFT division, and the NFT market has completely almost entirely collapsed. Yeah. Like a 90. So I was reading a thing that's 92% decline from its peak in September. Is where daily sales are at right now in NFTs. There's active wallets fell 88% to about 14,000 last week from a high of 119,000 in November.
Krispy, I feel like I'm pretty smart, but I have no idea what the fuck that means.
It just means that nobody is selling their NFTs anymore, or they've all sold them to the same pool of people who now have all of them.
I really feel like, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not an NFT expert, but I really feel like the concept was good, but it has turned into such a clusterfuck over the past year and a half that it's just ridiculous. I liked the original concept for them, but it's just become this whole buying selling thing, and it's just what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's not a particularly popular concept, at least within the gaming industry.
Well, I think once again, hold on. So going back to it, I don't think the gaming industry is where an NFT belongs.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I think the original concept was solid. The fact that you could be like, hey, I made this thing, I own this thing, this is mine. You can buy it or rent it or whatever, but I'm the owner of this thing. But it's become this whole thing of like buying and selling and like just like clusterfuck of dumb shit.
I mean, when it comes to the Square Enix deal, that is Crispy's right. They are talking about this as being like they're trying to shift focus to the cloud and blockchain and NFTs and all this stuff. But at the same time, I do feel like it's simpler than that, and maybe that's just smart. That's just like corporate speak, kind of little cloak and dagger stuff. Like this is not really what we're focusing on. It just seems like Square-Enix for the longest time was associated with a very specific, all of their Eastern studios were pumping out like JRPGs that were hugely popular and stuff, and that's kind of where everybody associates Square-Enix with. And then all of a sudden, they were the proprietor of Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, and it seemed like a strange fit. It wasn't Hitman also for a while under Square Enix umbrella. Yeah, like it's just it was kind of a strange fit, and I don't think they really. I mean, it wasn't really their thing, and I don't think it played out the way they expected. I saw somebody post it earlier, and I think I saw this number as well. Don't quote me on it though, but they lost something like, this is from Persuade in chat. It says supposedly lost about 200 million between Marvel's Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Which is shocking because Guardians of the Galaxy turned out to be like really critically successful. I guess it wasn't financially successful.
Well, when you barely market your fucking game and you announce it in probably the worst way at the worst time for you to do it, like people aren't going to fucking trust you after the Avengers. So,
dude, the Avengers seems like maybe kind of like maybe their biggest misstep. I mean, I don't have their full list of missteps in front of me, but like putting Crystal Dynamics, a team that is historically known for being, developers of Tomb Raider, on a project like the Avengers, which was supposed to be like a Destiny, it seemed like a really strange choice.
Yeah.
So they've been making odd decisions, but
when they took ownership of these developers, like they started out of the gate pretty good. The Tomb Raider reboot, granted, it wasn't a fucking Tomb Raider game, but it was pretty good. And then we got Deus Ex Human Revolution, which was a fucking fantastic follow-up to Invisible War.
But was it financially successful? I think that's when you get right. I mean, I know Tomb Raider, they've released numbers recently, and Tomb Raider seems like overall over the course of those 3 games was a success for Square Enix. But probably is maybe one of the few things out of all these things that we mentioned that was a success. They tried to reboot Thief, and that failed. They did 2 Deus Ex games, and I don't think even the first one, despite being really critically successful, I don't think it was particularly successful on a financial
My understanding
level.
was it was commercial success.
Well, didn't Square Enix have this weird thing where they kept setting these like incredibly robust goals for these games, and it's like a game that size on that budget making that kind of money might be considered a success by another publisher, but Square Enix was like, no, this is bad. Like,
I think I remember them saying something about
they invested way too much money into it. Like,
I forgot what it was. There was some outrageous number that they had expected to sell the original Tomb Raider, like the first Tomb Raider reboot. It was like 13 million or something within the first week, or I don't know what it was. Like they had some outrageous expectations, and then of course, when it failed to meet those expectations, despite being
they held it against
selling well, they held it against them.
Yeah. So and then they poison-pilled Mankind Divided. First off, by that absolutely fucking absurd pre-order scheme that they had going. And then they fucked the developers over.
Something, but I can't remember exactly what it
was. Your pre-order.
Where
it was like all the benefits were based on how many people pre-ordered the game.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And the ultimate pre-order bonus was that you got to play the game 4 days early.
That's right. That's what it was. It was getting to play the game early. Yeah, like, oh my god. Like,
but then the other thing they did was that they fucked over the developers Eidos Montreal by basically cutting Mankind Divided in half. That was supposed to be a much larger game. But they just ended like basically what was supposed to be the halfway point in the game story.
I mean, that all points to not having a lot of faith in the product, and also maybe being less financially successful than they were expecting or wanting it to. So they decided to cut their losses. But now that we're talking about this, and you're talking about the augment your pre-order thing, I totally see. I am now connecting the dots between the studio that did the augment your pre-order and the studio that wants to invest more money in the blockchain and NFTs, and like that line. That is a straight line. I totally get it. But
there's just that straight line is a line of coke between the two, Nick.
Yes.
But you know what? SquareEnix has been, historically speaking, been good at JRPGs. Like Final Fantasy has always been obviously a huge thing for them. Maybe they'll be more focused on Final Fantasy and kind of getting that back to on track. You know what I mean? Like Final Fantasy is obviously.
Whoa! What do you mean back on track? I'm pretty sure Final
Sorry.
Fantasy 14 is one of the most successful games ever made.
You are absolutely right. In fact, they don't need Crystal Dynamics. They don't need any of these studios and IP that they're selling because they have Final Fantasy 14, and that's fantastic. That is so great. But what I'm saying is, Final Fantasy as a single player series has not been the same. Has not been reaching the level of. I wish it would reach the level of success of Final Fantasy 14, but like 13 and both 13 and 15 just didn't have the magic. They
were lacking the je ne sais quoi.
Yes, and maybe they can get back to focusing on the things that they've always done well, and maybe
the fantasy.
Yes.
I mean, they've Crystal Dynamics announced that their next project is supposed to be a Tomb Raider game.
And there's actually there's talk about this right now because that Tomb Raider game was announced as part of the Unreal Engine 5 thing a few weeks back, and there's talk about it was announced specifically to make them more appealing as part of this sale to Embracer Group. Like, we are working on a Tomb Raider game.
And Eidos Montreal formally announced that yes, they have started preliminary work on a new Deus Ex title. So that's fucking exciting.
Group, it's exciting because those studios will be under different management, and that can always lead to new and exciting things for franchises that people do love. And that in and of itself is exciting. It's just. It's weird. I didn't expect this news to hit us like a ton of bricks on Monday. Monday morning.
In addition to Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, Embracer Group now owns, amongst other things, Legacy of Kain, Project Snowblind, which was the spin-off of Deus Ex, and the Thief franchise.
Yeah. Honestly, of all those things, I wanted Thief to be more of a success than it ultimately ended up being. In fact, it was kind of broken, but I don't think they should give up on that franchise. So I think they have a better chance of doing that now under Embracer Group than they ever did with SquareEnix. So, and maybe Tomb Raider will take this opportunity to try something new as kind of like a new launching point for Tomb Raider under that Embracer Group umbrella. So
I think that's the direction they want to go with.
I don't know. We shall see. The other news headline I wanted to mention tonight, I don't know how much we're going to have to say about this necessarily, but I did want to throw it out there, is Ubisoft. I don't know if y'all recall, they announced a remake of Prince of Persia some time back. Prince of Persia Sands of Time, and people, that's a very popular franchise, and that game in particular, that first game, is beloved. And people have kind of had their eye on it, and they finally showed it. It's probably over a year ago, I think, and I think people were really underwhelmed by what they showed. It was being developed by Ubisoft Mumbai and Ubisoft. Oh God, what's the other studio?
Shanghai, I think it was.
I don't know. I don't think it was Shanghai. So maybe somebody in chat knows. It was two studios that were working in tandem on this. Is it Pune? I don't know how to pronounce it. Pune. So, somebody look that up. Ubisoft Pune and Ubisoft Mumbai were working on that game. They showed it. Didn't look great, but we didn't see a ton of it. But now they have shifted the development of that game entirely back over to Ubisoft Quebec.
Oh, okay.
Or Montreal. Is it Montreal? Ubisoft Montreal?
Yeah, Montreal.
Which is the original studio that made Sands of Time. So it sounds like they're kind of going back to the drawing. I don't know if they're going to keep working on what they've already done, or if they're going to kind of start from scratch, or what. But it sounds like that game is still coming, but it is.
I think it's too far along for them to restart from scratch. At this point, they got to put.
I think a lot of the things that people pointed out they had trouble with when they showed the remake last time was some of the art direction didn't look up to people's standards, I suppose, and maybe some of the animations look really stiff. I don't know. So maybe they're just gonna kind of go over that stuff with a fine-tooth comb. I don't know what this means necessarily for the project, but it certainly sounds like that game is no longer coming out this year. I think it was supposed to come out first or second quarter of this year, but it was recently delayed indefinitely. So I think a lot of people were worried it was going to be canceled. So I think both those things are off the table now, but it's going to be quite a bit longer before we have a chance to actually play that game.
Ubisoft is running out of projects they can afford to delay.
I mean, this is also coming at a time when Ubisoft is scrambling to fix or try to fix their public image, and they have a lot of troubled projects in development.
Maybe it would help if they put more microtransactions in their games. That might make things better.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah, sure.
Or maybe not announce projects with grand scopes and then barely do anything with them because they don't know what to do with them.
Maybe they should just start by saying, okay, you got us. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is not real. We're canceling that. Skull and Bones is not happening.
It's actually happening. Supposedly, right now, there is some closed NDA public testing of that. And supposedly, the leaked reviews say it's actually pretty fun.
I mean, it definitely seems like by now it better be more of a video game than it was the last time we heard or saw that game. But
we last saw it 4 years ago.
Just fucking admit it. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is not real. Cancel it. Stop putting money into it. Funnel that shit somewhere else. We're not buying it. Yeah. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up because I think a lot of people keep forgetting that Prince of Persia remake exists. But it's still coming. It's just now being developed by a completely different studio, but a studio that has history with the franchise. So that's promising, I suppose. I think that ultimately is going to be a good thing for the game in general. But
yeah,
all right.
It's a wonder what Montreal is working on at the moment. I think Rainbow Six Extraction just went over like a fart in a diving bell.
Did that game come out?
Yeah, it came out in January.
Oh.
Yeah.
I missed that.
And I think everyone ignored it after a week. Or even before that. We know Toronto is working on the Splinter Cell remake, but that's so early days, like that's years out. So like
Ubisoft is in such a weird place, but they have a lot of projects that we know are in development that I think could be interesting, that could kind of, it's not going to fix their public image problem, obviously. That's a whole other kettle of fish. But as far as they've been struggling, I think, to find a hit as far as games go recently. So they have a lot of interesting stuff coming down the pipe. I hope some of these things deliver, but we'll have to wait and see on that. All right, that's it for news. We have some questions tonight. Are y'all ready?
Sure.
Let's do it!
Alrighty. Our first question tonight comes from Tack. And by the way, if you have a question you'd like to ask us on a future show, all you got to do is go to discord.gg/4player, find the thread for the upcoming episode, which is going to be in the submit a questions channel in Discord, and you can leave your question there, and we will get to it on a future show. So our first question comes from Tack, and he says, have any of you ever had a game you enjoyed immensely the first time, but found it to be significantly worse on subsequent playthroughs, specifically in terms of design rather than aspects that don't age well, like graphics? Oh God,
It's a good question.
I feel like I should say Devil May Cry 2 here, because I was such a huge Devil May Cry fan back in the day, and I was young and I was stupid, and I played Devil May Cry 2, and I was just so swept up in the I love Devil May Cry part of my life that has clearly expired. That when I went back and played Devil May Cry 2, I was like, okay, this is not on par with the other ones.
I would agree with you there. I think Devil May Cry 2's attractiveness was that you had a whole second disc with a completely different character to play through with a separate storyline. So it added replayability, but once you've experienced like what's her name or Dante's like story, playing back through that, it's more of the fucking same, and there's nothing really to make it stand out.
It was also just kind of devoid of, it was kind of sucked of like any personality, and I don't know. It's hard to describe. I still kind of strangely have a soft spot for that game, but I do also recognize, especially after subsequent playthroughs, that yes, it is a weird game that falls in between Devil May Cry 1 and 3, which are both tremendous games for different reasons, but 2 just, it is the black sheep of that family, and I totally recognize that now.
Didn't it have like an 11-month development cycle or something like that?
That also wouldn't surprise me, knowing what I know about that game, but I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah. Anybody else?
I will posit that Borderlands 2 was not as good on subsequent playthroughs.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know that
in general.
Well, yeah, I mean, in so much that they're all just like the fucking same. Yeah, I don't know. That whole gameplay loop just got really stale after playing it a couple times. And BioShock Infinite.
Oh man, see, I'm about to go back and play BioShock. I'm gonna do the BioShock's trilogy.
Like I was into it the first time I played it, and I was like, "Wow, new BioShock game!" And I was like, really eating it up. Go back and look at it again, and it's like, yeah, the design is very shallow, and it's just a weird, bad story. Like,
I am going to replay that trilogy because I got the HD trilogy a year or so ago, and I've been meaning to go back because I haven't played any of those games in at least a whole generation. I haven't played them since, Infinite came out. That was the last one I played. So I'm gonna play through those back to back to back when I have some time, and I'm fascinated to see how I feel about Infinite after playing it again, because everybody talks about everybody says similar things, like Infinite doesn't live up to its reputation that it had when it first came out.
But
have you played it since launch? I mean, maybe you have.
I mean, I've played some of it. I haven't played all the way through it, but
I'm actually, of those 3, I'm most eager to play BioShock 2 again.
Did you play the episodes for Infinite?
Yes, I did. I'm gonna play all that stuff again, so we'll see what happens. Nolan, did you by chance have an answer for this?
I can't think of any off the top of my head. I was kind of trying to look at my game wall and maybe look at my Steam library. I definitely know there are some, and I do think that BioShock Infinite was a good answer. And I definitely know there are probably others. I just can't think of any off the top of my head.
Fair enough. Chris Davis, you got anything?
The one thing I can think of is the original Dead Island. But there's the caveat there that once you get past the resort area in that game, the game just fucking goes downhill. And by the time you're in the last 5 hours of the game, it is just a fucking drag. So, like, knowing that I have that experience to look forward to in a second playthrough yeah, I would
But
definitely.
you've only ever played it once, right?
Oh, I remember playing through it again on New Game Plus to a certain degree, but I don't think I got past the hotel.
There you go. All right.
Dead Island's just a
let's
straight
see.
garbage game. Let's just put it that way. I'm just throwing that out there. It's a straight fucking garbage game. I cannot believe that we got Dying Light out of that garbage fire. That
Dead Island had to sacrifice itself so that Dying Light could be born, and I'm happy it
Yes.
was. All right, Mr. Green Toast has our next question. He says, with the recent release of Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt and Swan Song coming out later this month, but no signs of a release date for Bloodlines 2, I wanted to ask, what video game spin-offs or side games have you come to enjoy more than the mainline series? For example, some regard Bloodstained Curse of the Moon as being better than Ritual of the Night. I
I
was
don't know
trying
about
to
that.
think.
I'm pretty sure Ritual of the Night's a pretty fucking good game.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm trying to think of like, I feel like more often than not, especially with video games, it's the spin-offs are rarely better than the main. Like you said, Castlevania or Bloodstained. I was thinking of like all the Castlevania spin-offs.
Well, technically,
Final
wasn't
Fantasy
Symphony
spin-offs.
of the Night like when they were developing Symphony of the Night? That was kind of like the side game to fucking
Rondo of
Castlevania
Blood?
64. Like
Hmm.
they thought that like the 3D Castlevanias were gonna be the thing.
The way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think that's a good example. Also, I would say that the only single player Final Fantasy game I've ever completed was Tactics. And I love
That's
Final Fantasy
technically
14,
So those
which
are,
I guess is a
funny.
numbered entry, but it's the MMO.
It's funny because when I mentioned Final Fantasy spin-offs, and my immediate thought was like Crystal Chronicles and what's that Vincent spin-off?
Oh, Dirge of Cerberus?
Dirge of Cerberus
Yeah.
and shit. But you also named
Yeah, you
other
just
games that are
remember the
technically
bad
spin-offs.
ones, sure.
Oh man, you're right. You're right. They do have a lot of really good
yeah.
spin-offs.
The bad ones stuck in your mind, like I don't know, XCOM the Bureau. But technology and
Wanted
chat
that game to
has
be
a
so
one.
good.
But that like the Bureau wasn't just a bad game; it was,
yeah.
but it was also a disappointing game because the idea was so cool.
It really
Yeah.
was, and it
So
demoed really
cool.
well.
It was so cool,
So
and it's just a
technology and
piece of
chat
shit.
mentions Mega Man Legends, and yes, I you know maybe other people would have differing opinions, but I do think that's a fantastic game.
That's fair.
I
I know. Oh god, somebody just said Tales from the Borderlands. Get me out of here.
mean,
There you
they're
go.
not wrong.
And,
Best Borderlands games.
Zero Skies also points out that Nier is a spin-off of Drakengard, so technically,
Yeah, I guess.
Nier
But it's not like
qualifies.
they were still making Drakengard games. I guess they did make one
They did.
like 10
They've
years
made a-
ago, didn't they?
No, they made one on the
Yeah.
PS4. Was
Yeah.
it Drakengard 3? Drakengard 4? I don't remember.
When did that come out?
Wait, really?
It's on the PS4.
Okay. We're on PS5.
Yeah,
I
it's been a
would-
while.
Yeah, but like less than
I
10
would
years.
argue, I would argue the Persona series, at least in my opinion, is better than Shin Megami Tensei.
That's fair. That's fair. Look at you guys. Good answers. Shit.
I gotta find it. When was the last Drakengard?
Somebody in chat must know
Drakengard
in the last
3.
Drakengard game.
Drakengard 3
Portal.
was
Debatable.
2014.
Sure, yeah.
But
Okay.
is Portal better than Half-Life?
No.
Yes.
I would
in
rather
my
have a new
opinion-
Portal game than a new Half-Life.
That's a good point. Yeah. Would you rather have another Portal or another Half-Life?
Also,
After playing
hang on.
Alex,
Hang on. I didn't get to play Half-Life, Alex, because I'm not fucking rich. Okay, hang on. Before we go down that road, though, Drakengard 3 came out in 2014 in North America and 2013 in Japan, which was 8 to 9 years ago. So fuck you, Nick.
So you were wrong. It was less than 10 years ago.
Okay, I get it.
Oh, fuck.
I'm
This guy.
struggling here.
I'm just
But
kidding.
also-
You were right. You were right.
It's not that I wouldn't want to have a new Half-Life game. for sure. I heard that Alex was really good. Haven't played it. But a new Portal game? Come on, man. That'd be so dope. That'd be awesome.
That would be. I'm kind of shocked it hasn't happened at this point. Maybe.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I thought of a good one.
Okay.
Dragon Quest Builders. Specifically Builders 2.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
That is a fucking, in my opinion at least, I would take I would take a Dragon Quest Builders 3 over another Dragon Quest game.
Yeah,
That is fair. That is fair.
Fuck Dragon Quest. Unless
Damn.
it's Builders. Unless it's Builders.
Took a turn. Who's ready for the next question?
Let's do it.
Go.
The Drunken Merchant asks, has there ever been a mechanic or story beat in a sequel of a game that you're happy was left behind? For me, it's 3 words: Devil Never Cry.
What?
Okay,
What?
so the context.
Can I
of
get
this-
more explanation? Yeah.
So I think what he's saying is, have they ever introduced a mechanic or even a story like moment in a game that was then dropped in the subsequent sequels and that you were happy about? It's like when they introduce some weird like subplot of a movie or a TV show, and then like they realize they made a mistake, and then immediately try to kind of shy away from it or ignore it in the sequels or seasons, subsequent seasons, that kind of thing. This one's tough for me because, especially with games, because
What is Devil Never Cry?
so this is Devil May Cry is coming up a lot on this episode. And I'm not Devil. I can't remember which game it was, whether it was 1 or 2, maybe it was even 3. I don't know. Can somebody in chat remember which game? The game ended with them introducing, like, I guess doesn't he change the name of his
The first
business
game,
to
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, to
Change the
Devil
name of his-
Never Cry.
Devil Never Cry after all the. Okay. Yeah.
No
so
Devil No Cry.
It was just super cheesy and corny, and it's one of those things that I would imagine he was just happy they completely ignored with the follow-ups. God, the thing with games, though, especially when you think of this question from the perspective of like mechanics, games, it's hard for me to think of games that have like subsequent sequels where mechanically they're not getting better from one to the next, because mechanics typically just have a very
I can give you a concept of something, not necessarily a direct mechanic from one game to a sequel.
Okay.
I really appreciate how, as an industry, we are moving away from weapon degradation. Like,
sure.
Going from what I played of Dark Souls 2 to playing Dark Souls 3, fuck that bullshit. And now with Sekiro and Elden Ring, like, it feels so much better to actually have weapons I can fucking rely on.
The weapon degradation experiment is coming to an end.
Are you hoping that in Breath of the Wild 2 they remove that?
Yes.
Yes.
That was a pain.
Yeah.
Krispy, you're giving a thumbs down. Are you saying you disagree, or you agree that they should remove it?
No, I disagree that they should remove it.
Ooh, you want them to keep it?
Yeah, I don't mind if they tune it up a little bit to add a little more durability to the weapons, but removing it entirely, guys, come on.
You don't want your sword to break in 5 hits?
Well,
basically.
Oh, just okay. Give me, spare me.
No,
spare me the hyperbole.
Crispy,
Okay,
I'm
like
agree with you.
seriously,
I
I liked the idea. I liked the way that game encouraged you to experiment with weapons and encouraged you to kind of like just like you would be in situations where you didn't have a sword, you're under attack, and now it's just like pick up a branch and defend yourself. Like that's cool, and
I'm agreeing with you.
No, I know, but you're doing it. You're doing it in a very Nolan way.
You're not wrong. I'm agreeing with you that yes, I would not mind if the Breath of the Wild 2 still had durability. But yes, it was a frustrating thing that how frequently shit was breaking in Breath of the Wild. Like it was it was frustrating.
Stuff like shield surfing, like that. Okay, maybe that shouldn't degrade your shields. I would agree with that. You should be able to shield surf without it breaking your shield by the time you get to the bottom of the hill. But removing it altogether, I think, is an overreaction. But we've had this conversation before, and I think I've made my feelings clear. As for something that was removed that I thought was or ignored that I thought was a good thing?
Yeah.
I can't think, I can't think of anything.
Zero Sky says something, and I don't know specifically what he's referring to, but he says Assassin's Creed killed off its new antagonist off screen after Assassin's Creed 3.
There's a few people that just get killed between the games in Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed. It's really
Yeah.
weird.
Which
And, like,
which
just never
antagonist
mentioned
is
again.
which antagonist is he referring to? Although to be honest, it's
I
been a
mean,
long time since I've played
I don't
those
want to
early
get into
games.
spoilers, but isn't
The Pope?
The Pope.
no the Pope dies in like 2.
Two.
No,
Yeah.
you-
that
yeah,
happened
you
very
had-
much on screen.
No, but like,
Oh, the god.
don't you like start fighting him in
Yeah.
2, and then the game ends, and then 3 or
In-
whatever the next
or
one was begins with you
Revelations. I
like
think
fighting
it's between
him?
Brotherhood and Revelations, I think, where you like have
Yeah.
to do the whole Pope shit. But yeah, so 3 had like the god alien thing.
Yeah.
That didn't that kill
Yeah.
Kristen Bell?
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that they just end up
Spoilers
like fucking
for like a
ignoring,
20-year-old
isn't there?
game.
Yeah.
And it just disappears.
Yeah, there's yeah. Kristen Bell's character, they're like, oh, she was a traitor and she died.
Yep.
And you're like, what?
She was
been with
secretly
us for
against you the
3
whole
games? I mean, really, all that is just like what she just got too famous to be in Assassin's Creed anymore. I guess
Probably.
I mean, but like that shouldn't mean they kill the character. Just recast the character.
Well, I guess, but also like do literally anything other than what they did.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. Or like how Pokemon just kind of like removed fighting. It was like only capturing in Pokemon Go for a while. And then people were like, no, you gotta have fighting. And then they were like, okay. Well, okay, here's fighting. I don't know.
I'm loving the idea of that being just that was like how simple the conversation was. Like, oh,
I
okay,
mean,
here you go.
that's how I remember it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. All right. Our last question tonight comes from Zero Skies. Well, I don't know if we. I guess this is just speculation. He says, "Who do y'all want to see show up in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness?"
Oh,
Shaquille O'Neal.
Fuck yeah, let's get some Jack in there.
I
Let's
would
do
like
it.
I would like to
Please
see
share.
Doctor Strange
Yeah.
and Wong. If Doctor Strange and Wong are in it, and Mordo, then I will be happy.
I think that's fair.
I hope
Yeah.
this is a Doctor Strange movie and not a sequel to 9 Disney Plus shows that I didn't watch.
Basically.
Yeah, I guess that
Jesus.
is the concern at this point, right? I mean, you made a good point before we were kind of talking about this off the show about it was nice when Marvel movies were about more than just trying to squeeze in shocking cameos and stuff, which I mean, I get why they're fun and exciting and stuff, but at the same time, it's such a distraction at times.
That like portal scene in Avengers Endgame, I think just broke everyone's brains. Like I think it just broke everything, and now they're like, okay, that's what we do now.
I mean, that was a great moment. I wouldn't change that for the world, but you know, it certainly changed. It did something, and it wasn't all good.
It did something.
Yeah,
It was weird. I mean, wasn't it? Okay, well, no, yeah, okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I don't hate that there is some crossover and some like, oh, this person was in this, and you know, it's one of those things where I don't think at the end of the day you have to watch everything to stay up to date. But I honestly kind of like that there is for the longest time it was all about, and don't get me wrong, it probably still is to an extent, ownership and licensing and who has the rights to do this, and we won't let you have this character in this movie. And it was such bullshit for so long that I think now they've kind of gone the exact opposite. Now that they have more freedom, and don't get me wrong, the reason that's happening a lot of us is you know, fucking Disney's just acquiring everything, and that's why they can do it.
But I think they're acquiring everything just so they could do that.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, growing up, you know, I watched a lot of, you know, animated, you know, X-Men, animated show and Spider-Man. And when there was crossover, it was like, oh my fucking, it was insane. Spider-Man is in the X-Men part 2. What is going on? And like, it was the coolest shit.
It was
And
fun.
so, well, no, it was. And now that, I agree with you, Krispy. I want 95%, 96% of this new Doctor Strange movie to be just about Doctor Strange. And if someone shows up for just like hey, Doctor Strange, here's this cool thing. You can, I made you with this cupcake, and then they leave, whatever, that's fine. But I agree with you that I don't want it to be, like, oh, you had to have watched WandaVision and you had to have watched Loki to understand what's going on. If there's just like a small cameo that's like 5 minutes, whatever, that's fine.
Also,
hold on. And sorry, I just want to finish my thought. Sorry, Nick, real quick. I think Doctor Strange's cameo in Thor Ragnarok was perfect. I think that was one of those scenarios where it was perfect. He was there for a one scene, for maybe 2 scenes, whatever, for just a few minutes to help move the plot along, and then he was gone and never showed up again. I think that's a really good example of how you can incorporate someone in, but then them not be like a fucking huge thing in like, not be so obscure that you have no idea what the fuck's going on. Like at the end of there was something we watched recently. I think it was maybe like Eternals, the Eternals movie. At the end of it, there, with Jon Snow, and there's like some voice and something, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? There's one thing to have like something that's so fucking obscure that I'm not a comic book nerd, so I don't really know what's going on. Versus just like, hey, everyone kind of to an extent now knows who Doctor Strange is, and so if he shows up in Thor for a few minutes, you know what's going on.
I'm gonna be honest, guys. I don't remember Thor or Doctor Strange's cameo in Thor Ragnarok.
That's not true.
So it's when they're trying to find Odin, and so he goes. Loki and him go.
Yeah. Okay, that wasn't a fucking trailer.
He's doing that weird, maybe, but he's doing that weird thing where he's like teleporting around, and he's like all of a sudden like Thor doesn't know what's going on because he just keeps getting teleported like throughout like Doctor Strange's
the Sanctum Sanctorum. Part of that was also like the end credit scene to the first Doctor Strange movie. But he had the gloves, remember? He was wearing the leopard print gloves at the end of Doctor Strange, but then they removed it again for I don't know. I don't know why they do anything, but like I can get on board with that. That made a little more sense because it's like you've got a mystical character going to another mystical character to deal with mystical stuff, but like I don't know. This shit now is just like...
I mean, the reason I was kind of hesitant to even answer this question is because there's a lot of things that are being assumed about what they're going to use this multiverse shit to do, right? And I don't want to get into it because I want to be surprised just as much as anybody else, and the more I think about it, the more I'm going to be like, I'm going to get to the theater and be like, well, I saw that coming. It seems like they're teasing some pretty big shit.
I swear to God, if I go watch Doctor Strange and the characters from Everything Everywhere all at once show up, I'm gonna be pissed.
No. It's like the scene from the first Doctor Strange, but instead of his hands multiplying, it's hot dog fingers just multiplying across.
They're all just wiggling around.
Yeah.
Guys, that seriously gave me the willies. I
can't believe that's the only thing I've heard you talk about from that movie, Nick.
It's like the only thing I can think about when I think about that movie is the hot dog. I'm just kidding. I really like that movie. It's a great movie. It's a great fucking movie.
It was so good.
It made me feel a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
I'm
also
just hyped for the character that's gonna make Krispy lose his fucking mind. Absolutely lose his shit.
But it sounds to me like
Gold is going to show up.
Yeah, who's that?
In Doctor Strange, even though he's from a different publisher.
I don't think there's anything they can do that would really like totally catch me off guard. And also, I am so fucking worried about this movie. I have like a deep feeling in my gut that I'm gonna hate it. Like,
I want to hear from you tomorrow. I want to hear from you tomorrow. As soon as you get out of that theater, you just say yay or nay in Discord. Just yay or nay.
That's not. Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Well, the Rotten Tomatoes has a good score for it so far, so
How about Morbius? Let's see Morbius show up.
no.
It's Morbin time.
My God. Okay, we need to wrap this show up, guys. Thank you so much for your questions. If you want to ask us questions for a future show, or if you want to hear our opinion on a particular news topic or something that we don't cover during the news segment, please make sure you leave it in the submit a questions thread in Discord at discord.gg/4player. Now we wrap up the show with the 4-player minute. We say our hype, sweat, thank you, fuck you, our final thought, whatever the fuck you want it to be. Just somebody do it. Chris Davis, why don't you start us this week?
Oh God.
Oh, sorry. Was that too? Were you not prepared?
I mean, I'm never prepared, but I was exceptionally not prepared this time. I don't have a whole lot other than I just want to reiterate my love for Kaiju Wars, and I desperately want everyone else to play it because it's a really good game and it deserves the attention.
There you go.
Like, I could spend the next 10 minutes talking about it more if you want, but like...
You've already done that. And I don't mean to rain in your parade, Chris Davis. I love that you're enthused and passionate about Kaiju Wars. I knew you would be. Good for you. It's great. It looks like a great, fun game that I will probably not try.
I guess if... Oh, well, there was that
finish
one
it
game.
after 13
I mean,
Sentinels.
I feel like... Oh, don't say that. 13 Sentinels
Don't even bring that up.
is still installed on my PlayStation,
Uh-huh.
and it will remain there until I play it. Chris Davis, I promise you.
Yo, can it be like in the next 15 years, maybe, that you'll actually play it?
Well, wait until after my 4-player minute, and then we'll talk.
Okay.
Krispy, why don't you go next?
Okay. This week for my 4-player minute, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Stanley Parable.
Yes.
There we go.
What is it called? The Ultimate
Ultra Deluxe.
Ultra Deluxe edition.
Great name.
First of all, it's been a long time since I played Stanley Parable, so there was some things that I thought were new that I don't think were new, because maybe I haven't seen all the endings from the original game, but I definitely have stumbled across a couple of new endings that were really delightful. I haven't played a lot of the game, so I didn't really feel like talking about it. Also, that game's difficult to talk about because it's all just like spoilers, you know? Like,
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to be like, oh, this is amazing, without, explaining why. But I will say that one of the new endings I found it was kind of based around reviews of the original game.
Yes.
And then Steam reviews of the game, which was really fun and like really kind of like I mean, it was funny, but it was also like really heartfelt. And then like the ending of it goes in this really weird abstract direction
Surreal.
that was amazing. Like it ended in such this like wonderful way that it was like, I don't know. It kind of made me think of like, oh God, what is that fucking free game I played on Steam? It was like Sisyphus Rising or something like that. Just like one of these weirdo art experience games that you're like, wow, what the fuck was that? Really contemplative and a little mournful, but still maintaining that like kind of cheeky tone that the Stanley Parable does really well. It is a very cool game. Again, I don't know if I'm ever actually going to talk about it on the podcast as an impression, just because I don't know how conducive to conversation it is. Maybe I'm going to keep playing it, and maybe I'll come across enough stuff that I'd be like, nah, I need to bring this up. So maybe, but I just wanted to take my time right now to tell you that even if that doesn't happen, try it. There's a lot of really fun, interesting, thoughtful stuff going on in that game.
Am I doing anything to myself by not playing the original and just playing Ultra Deluxe? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Because all that content's there, right? I would imagine.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's all there, and then they added on to it.
Cool.
They just cleaned it up a little. It doesn't look as much like a source mod game.
As long as you're up for a little, like, kind of self-indulgent philosophizing about game design and story, like relation to narrator and audience and things like that. If you're up for that kind of bullshit, which I always am, you'll enjoy it. It's really good.
Sounds like a recommendation if I've ever heard one. Nolan,
What's
it
up?
is your turn.
Bet.
Nolan, why in the picture that you just posted of yourself mowing the yard are you mowing your driveway?
I'm not mowing my driveway.
It proves nothing. It just proves that you mowed your driveway.
Do you want me to post a video? So I
No,
don't
I'm just
I don't
joking.
always mow in the same exact direction because that causes ruts in your yard. So I will angle slightly different each time to not cause ruts in my yard.
This motherfucker.
That's something you're not going to get if some randos you're paying $28 to mow it.
Right, I mean, where did this divot come from? Shit.
All right, my 4-player thought minute idea starts now. While I am playing some newer games, like I'm playing Peglin, a couple other little things, I also recently started, a while back, if y'all recall, I was playing through the Metal Gear series.
Right.
And I played all the way through 4 and then I stopped. I think just because like some new stuff came out that I was focusing on. So in the past like week, I finally ended up picking up like Ground Zeroes and 5. Played through Ground Zeroes, and I'm trying to kind of look deeper into those games because it's one of those things where I often forget how long ago those games actually fucking came out. Like Phantom Pain was 2015. It doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But finally kind of starting to play back through those and actually kind of go a little bit deeper into like there's so much there, and kind of just revisiting a lot of that. And so I've been playing some of that. Also, kind of some of the frustrations because, one of the things where I didn't do a lot of the side tasks that are optional in that. And I'm like, oh, let me try to do some of those side tasks. And they're kind of difficult at times. But yeah, so I started replaying that one, and really enjoying it. But I've also, for the past 6 months, I don't know if it's just what's going on in the world or just being so focused at work that like after work, like I don't want to like it's not that I don't want to play games. It's just I want to shut off my brain. And sometimes playing games, you can't shut off your brain. Now, Peglin is a good example of one that you can kind of shut off your brain when you're playing it. But like something like Metal Gear or Elden Ring, you can't just shut off your brain when you're playing them. And so that's one of the reasons I temporarily, I guess for now, have put down Elden Ring. Not because I wasn't enjoying it. I've enjoyed every single minute I've played of that game. But it's just more about sometimes after work, I just want to throw on. Yeah, I just want to throw on a movie or a YouTube video or a TV show. And I definitely have not been playing anywhere near as much. Who knows if that's going to change? I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to kind of get back into more like gaming focus and kind of try to shut off my brain into a game, but we'll see what happens.
I think it's important right now, given everything that's going on, to just do what makes you happy. You know what I mean?
Yes, and that's what I'll agree with that. And maybe, I think tonight was one of the first nights I've had a quote new game to talk about. And that is because I have been doing just that. Like, I'm not saying anything negative about this podcast. I love talking to y'all about video games, but it's more about I used to have a mindset of, I have to play the new shit so I can talk about it on the podcast. But more so lately, it's been I'm going to play a game if it makes me happy. And if it's something new I can talk about, I will talk about it. If it's something old, I'll see if anyone cares that I'm talking about it. But I'm going to do what makes my life better.
Good. And that is the way it should be, honestly, especially at times like these. Thank you, Nolan. My 4-player minute, final thought, starts now, and it is also related to Elden Ring. That I am increasingly convinced that Elden Ring is a video game that has no ending. I'm pushing 90. I know it's a joke, Chris Davis. I know you've beaten it. I know lots of people have beaten it, and I'm going to beat this game. But holy shit, this game is just I'm like approaching 90 hours in it. I'm like at level 112, I think. I made some progress just last night, and I'm still loving every second I spend playing this game. Like Nolan said, it's an absolutely insane game, but every single day, I'm seeing people post and talk about shit in Discord and in social media that I have never even seen or heard about yet in this game, which is a little overwhelming, considering how much time I've put into it. And it's one of those things where I'm telling myself, like, I'm gonna be playing a lot of like little things while working on Elden Ring as like the big thing, because that's a major project. If I want to finish it, I'm not gonna like be juggling a bunch of like 60-70 hour games at once.
How far are you?
I am in the capital city. I just beat the boss last night of the sewer area. Did some dung eater stuff, and heading to the Erd tree, I guess. So it's just one of those things where it's like every time I play this, despite the fact that I fucking adore this game, I still don't feel like I'm anywhere near an ending. And that is it's just overwhelming. Elden Ring is an overwhelming video game, almost to the point of it being a critique, something I would say is negative about it. It's just, and this is coming from someone who plays a lot of open world games and loves open world games, many of which are overwhelming in their own right. But like Elden Ring is overwhelming in like the unpredictable sense. It's overwhelming because it's not like so many of these games I can play. I can like clearly identify like I need to do this, and this, because I know I want to do that content, and I know how that's the trajectory that's going to take me, and how that's ultimately going to lead me to the end of the game. Elden Ring is not like that. Elden Ring is like, I'm going to go into a new area tonight, and I could be stuck here for the next 15 hours. And who knows how many areas.
Only?
I mean, I'm pulling numbers out of my ass. You know, it's just...
He's talking about a single room in a new area, Krispy.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. I somehow let myself over level for certain things. I beat Radon in like 2 tries.
There's nothing wrong with over leveling, and
there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh. In fact, it made things that I know would have otherwise been incredibly frustrating. Like
so to kind of not to take over your 4-player minute.
But there was a minute anyways. So.
Yeah, I know. There was a moment when I was playing some Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, and there was a point where you have to. There's all these tasks. Like this one particular mission had like 8 tasks, and while you don't have to complete them all on one run, I was kind of like trying to, because I was like, oh, let me just do this all at once, so that I don't have to play the mission one time. But there was one that was just like, there was one task that was just like I restarted like 4 times trying to do it properly. And then at that point, I was like, you know what? I've beaten this game before. I've unlocked like stealth camo. Stealth camo like limits your mission to like an A rank only, not an S. And I didn't have an S on that one. And I was like, I'm just going to fucking use this stealth camo to complete this task, because fuck it. Like I've already spent like 40 minutes trying to do this one thing. I'm like, I'm just going to make my life easier, and then I'll do it again later, and I can skip this whole thing. This thing that's giving me trouble, I can then skip it next time because it's going to be irrelevant now. And it's just one of those things where it's like, sometimes taking the easier path is
swallow your pride, man.
Exactly. Just like
swallow your pride.
Yeah. There's no. I'm not proving anything to anyone. Like who the fuck cares?
I am still convinced that Robin is going to finish Elden Ring before I do.
She's probably going to finish Elden Ring before I do.
Yeah, she is moving at an alarming rate that I just don't think I can keep up with.
Can you say where she is?
I mean, that's a hard question to answer.
Probably in the other room.
I will say this: she's at about 57 hours, and she started this game like 3 weeks ago. And she is like levels 60 something, maybe 70 something. I don't know. And I'm just like, you are moving at I started this game the day it came out, and she's moving at an alarming pace. Not that that's a bad thing, but the dynamic is going to switch, because she's like asking me questions and getting my input on stuff, and then it's eventually going to just pivot. I'm going to be like, so my turn to ask you some stuff, which it's a fun dynamic, but Anyways, Elden Ring. What a thing, am I right?
Yes.
Anyways,
Pretty cool.
It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, guys, that's our show tonight, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us. Again, we record these podcasts typically on Thursdays, but for the next few months, Wednesday nights is where it's at. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be back for another episode next week. Maybe I'll be talking about Trek to Yomi, which comes out tomorrow.
Oh, shit.
Looks pretty cool. It's on sale. I think it's on sale for 10% off. It's like $17. So maybe we'll talk about that next week. But anyways, thank you so much for listening, guys. 4playernetwork.com is the website. You can, of course, join us in Discord at discord.gg/4player. In the meantime, be good to yourselves. Play video games. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.